What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Investor Shed podcast. You are in for a treat today.
You are surely in for a treat today. Nick, I got a question for you. Are single-family homes a lousy investment?
I think they are.
You think they are? Well, I might think differently, and so may some other people.
I'm joking.
You're going to have to listen to the episode to find out what Nick really thinks. While you're in the episode, what kind of food should people be indulging in?
I think you should peel a banana, throw away the banana, keep the peel, chomp on it.
Chomp on them peels, ladies and gentlemen, and chomp on some great investor information. Stay tuned.
Get your fiber. And welcome back to the show, everybody. You are listening to the Investor Shed podcast. I'm your host, Nick Beveridge, here with my co-host, Jeremy Kitchen.
I am here live and in the flesh today. How are we doing today?
I'm fired up.
Fired up? What are you fired up about?
Because I've been listening to podcasts a lot over the last week, and I keep hearing advice that is making my mind spin out of control.
Okay, tell us more then.
And I think we should talk about it today.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've heard this on 3 different podcasts in the last week, Jeremy.
Okay. What have you heard?
Rental properties are kind of lousy.
Ooh.
Lousy investment.
I like how we're playing it off and it's on the board back there. Like, we're going to talk about this, of course. So
yeah. No, seriously, I've heard this from 3 influencers already. Mm-hmm. 2 of them, huge names in the industry.
Yep.
I'll just say them. Brandon Turner.
Okay, wow.
He mentioned it in one of his recent podcasts. Mm-hmm. Kind of a lousy investment, you know, and it's interesting knowing that rental properties is kind of what got him in the game. Mm-hmm. But you know, he's got a different perspective now, and he was talking about, you know, it with his friend and like how they're only getting a 2% return on equity. Mm-hmm. And they're really just, you know, going off on like how lousy their investments were in this single family portfolio.
Okay.
Totally neglecting all the other benefits that come along with that. It's not just your return on equity, which we'll get into. And then Ryan Pineda, another big influencer, flips a lot of houses. You know, the guy's got pink hair and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy, also another person that has multiple streams of income, much higher than rental properties. So for that guy, rental properties might be kind of a lousy investment for him because he makes millions and millions and millions of dollars putting on events regularly, selling programs. You know, he's got all these other huge sources of income. Mm-hmm. The problem I have is like he's out there telling his audience, who probably isn't all rich, that these rental properties are just kind of, it's a lousy investment. You know, he just shrugs it off.
Does he sound like Jay Leno?
Hey, it's a lousy investment. I don't know what to tell you. He does.
He does. He really does. Now that I think about it.
He's got almost that Jay Leno vibe.
Lousy investment. I don't know. No, but like I think the point with this too, and we are going to really deep dive into this thing. But you know, like what he's saying is like, yes, it could be lousy compared to the things he's doing, but that doesn't mean it's a bad investment. And a lot of times, what I've noticed with these influencers or with these, you know, people who have this, you know, big following, is they want you to invest with them.
Yeah.
What they want is they want you to join A, their syndication, or B, their program, right? So you can give them their money so they can invest it for you. And, you know, you make your return, which syndications work. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, usually when somebody says something like that, it's because they want something from you. You create that controversy, and then you provide a solution, right?
You know, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even go that far in my head. I didn't think these insidious things that you were thinking.
Oh, wow.
Which makes a lot of sense now.
It does,
You know, they do have other things to offer, so maybe they are trying to get their audience to just invest with them.
Yeah. And I mean, even
now that I think about it, Brandon Turner was talking about, you know, how you can get almost a 9% with his, you know, open door capital.
Yep. Not a bad return.
Didn't even think about it.
Okay, but yeah.
Okay, that's funny. But, so maybe we can end the podcast. I guess we've solved the riddle why people are saying that rental properties are a bad investment.
No, we're still going to deep dive into this thing. But again, like the thing with that, like people are providing a scarcity mindset solution, and then they're providing a solution with this, saying like, good luck with your single family. You got to do this, or you could just give us your money and we'll invest it for you, and you don't have to worry about tenants. You don't have to, and you can still get the depreciation on the back end, right? As a limited partner. Everybody
they don't even talk about any of that. they just focus on the front end, returns.
Well, that's good, and that's still something. But there's a million different ways to invest your money or invest your time. So just you got to find something that makes sense with you. And we're gonna talk about this. So I sorry to ruin the podcast. Right?
No, that's okay. There's another. Well, then the thing that really sparked this in my mind that just like fired me up. Like, what is happening? There's a local big time investor that has a podcast that put out an episode recently saying that he's pretty much decided to just sell all his rental properties, and he goes in depth on how lousy they are because the rents haven't really caught up. He wasn't able to raise the rents much, but his insurance went up and taxes went up and that kind of stuff. Neglecting to talk about all the other benefits that he's been receiving from these rentals, but he also, he makes a lot of money doing other things.
Yeah.
He's got an audience. He's got this community that, I kind of don't even think about it half the times. That you gotta kind of be careful who you're listening to when it comes to if you're newer in this game.
Sure.
Just figure out what your goals are, and we want to point out in this episode that no. Rental properties are not a lousy investment. You might be hearing that a lot lately if you are just always listening to podcasts on real estate. I think it's the worst financial advice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
for people to be promoting this idea of just sell your rental properties.
Then what?
Not,
then what?
Yeah.
What's
then
the
what do
plan?
you do with the cash?
Yeah.
It's like, and you're forgetting about all the other benefits. It's not, the purpose of a rental property is it's a long-term investment.
Yeah.
It's not what are you making short term,
Right.
Unless you're in a different game.
Right. And we're going to go into it, but like I said, these people that say, they're a lousy investment or they're just not worth your time. Again, these are people who are, I would say they've evolved past the single family rental market.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
there's nothing wrong with that. That's typically the standard evolution of an investor, right? You get yourself a couple single family rentals, you trade those in, maybe get a duplex or two, you trade those in, you get a couple commercial buildings, and then you're like at a syndication level where like you've made it, your cash flow and everything is taking care of itself. And typically you see that. You see people trade up into newer, bigger, better things with 1031 exchanges, and they're constantly moving forward. So
another thing, just be cautious about a lot of these big time influencers. They haven't been in the real estate game very long. It's only been a few years with a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think Brandon Turner. He started in 2008.
Yeah.
So and he's probably an old school guy,
Right,
in this the influencer community. But just know that there are a lot of people that have been investing for a very, very, very long time that understand the value of rental properties.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of big time influencers that have these huge audiences that give advice when they've only been investing for so long.
Sure.
They can be wrong. They can be wrong in their thinking because they are making money in other ways.
Right.
If they have a huge in a huge following, and they're selling courses and seminars, community, masterminds, those kind of things, just know that the bulk of their money is coming probably not through rental properties.
Sure.
It's probably coming from their audience. And so you just got to be aware of where the incentives are with everybody that you're dealing with.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So, and you may be thinking, well, what do you guys have to sell? We don't know yet.
I'll let you know when I do, but
we have maybe 300 or 400 people that listen to this podcast.
I'd say what we have to sell is perspective. I don't have a course to sell. I don't want to get you on my program. We see things and we want to talk about them, whether they're right or wrong. We want to try to provide a clear path, and this clear path it might not even be for you. It might be for somebody else, because every investor is going to be at a different stage and take away something different from any kind of information that they get.
Yeah. With me, I've made my wealth through real estate rentals and through flips and that kind of stuff. I didn't really make my wealth through flips, but flips kind of helped get me the down payments to buy rentals. And that's what helped me kind of grow my net worth. What's my incentive doing this podcast? I feel like I'm just growing my network.
Yeah.
The more people that kind of hear me, the better I can do more business with here locally, sell more real estate, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the moment you guys start hearing me bullshit, I'm sure you're going to turn this off.
Right.
So I'm trying to keep it as real as I can.
Appreciate it.
All right. So let's talk about some of the benefits for those that maybe have been skewed by other people.
Yeah.
Let's go back because it's easy to forget all the benefits that you get with owning real estate. There can be a lot of headaches. There can be plenty of bad deals out there. So you can't just go buy anything
Yeah.
and expect it to be a good deal. You have to run your numbers before you buy. But assuming that you are buying good deals, the first thing we got to talk about is wealth building through appreciation.
Yeah.
A lot of, these influencers, they emphasize, short-term returns. Like how much are you getting per year? And they'll just, they'll say, oh, you're only getting like $200, per door times, 12.
Right.
That's, what?
$2,400.
$2,400 a year on a property that you have $100,000 of equity in. They might be just poo-pooing all over it, but they neglect to, tell you about all the other benefits. If you just hold that asset, that asset will appreciate over time. Maybe not every year,
Right.
but over 30 years, if you can maintain that building correctly,
Right.
that's how you're going to grow your net worth. Because ideally, you bought it with leverage. You made some sort of a down payment, or you did a BRRRR where you got your money back, but you're ideally buying properties with loans.
Yeah.
And you over time are paying those loans off. But you aren't personally paying them off. Your
Right.
tenants are. You're forgetting about, it's not the $200. It's the $1,500 or $2,000 every month that you're collecting from a tenant to pay your debts.
Yeah.
That goes a long way. I mean, imagine if you only had 10 rental properties, you've got 10 families' income, half their income
Right.
or a third of their income coming to you every month. You may only see a little tip, but all that money is still coming through your accounts, and it's going towards growing your net worth every month and paying all these expenses. It's not like it all just evaporates into loan land.
Right.
It does actually build your net worth in the background. And it helps, keep, it helps hedge you against inflation. So anyway, that's the game. The game is to acquire assets and get other people to pay for them.
Yeah.
You may not see returns right away, but that's not what rental properties are. If you want to get rich quickly, don't buy rental properties as a strategy.
Right.
Have some other business that helps get you rich. But the rentals, if you could buy them in the background, they will help get you wealthy over time. All right. So cash flow, passive income, this is what a lot of them focus on. The people that want you to maybe potentially sell your rental properties.
Sure.
It may not be pretty, may not be huge. You should never expect to live off your cash flow anyway, unless your buildings are paid off.
Sure.
If you have a loan on your houses, and if you just recently got them, like any extra money that's coming in, trust me, it should just be going into the bank account, into a savings account, and paying for maintenance.
Yep.
Paying for vacancies. It should just go towards, or maybe paying a little bit extra per month to pay down that mortgage faster.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you could just pay an extra $100 a month on a mortgage, it's amazing. Play with the amortization calculators.
It's pretty wild.
It's wild how much interest you can save if you, it's nice to have the option to spread it over 30 years and have a lower payment if you really need the extra cash flow. But, you should really just, all that money that's coming in, leave it for that house.
I agree.
You should not live on any of the cash flow until they are paid off, until you have like more than a 40% net margin on these things.
That's a really good point, because I think some people, what happens is, they get, I guess, cocky, or they get greedy with it. Like they see that their rental property, I've made $1,000 in the last 5 months. I can go take a vacation, right?
And maybe they can, but
And maybe they can. But also, like, there will be a day when you have a vacancy or something breaks.
yes,
Like mark my words.
it's not if, it's when.
Yep.
It's what the water heaters don't last very long.
Right.
They're not as expensive to replace as you think, but they add up. The roof, the water heater, the furnace, all these things, painting over time, all these things you do got to account for.
Yeah.
And that means you cannot just spend the cash flow. If you're getting an extra $200 per door, that doesn't mean you have an extra $200 of income.
It's true.
Maybe you need it at first, but like,
Yeah.
it's not then a long-term good plan when you do wind up needing the money and you have already spent it all.
What I love, when we had our rental together, obviously the money went into the joint LLC bank account.
Yeah.
How many draws did we take from rents?
I don't think any.
None. We took none.
Yeah.
Neither of
That's
us
not
took-
the point.
That's not the point, exactly.
Yeah.
The point was to let it
get
grow
it to
and-
pay for itself.
Exactly.
And it did.
Yeah, and then we had extras. There was a time when our tenants didn't pay, and we had some extra in the account, and it allowed us to continue paying the bills as well. So it was a very good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, and I'm not great at doing this. This is the advice that I preach, and then I don't always do it. Because, I've decided to put myself in positions where like I need as much cash as possible sometimes, and then other times I pay things down. But I definitely should. A great way, an easy way to kind of maintain this over time is if you do have a house, have a separate bank account, have a separate LLC.
Yes.
Where the income is coming into that account only, and then you just leave it there and you don't touch it. It doesn't go to your checking account where you're linked to a debit card. Don't have a debit card.
Yeah.
Only. And try not even to have a checkbook.
Yeah.
Try to pay whatever bills you need online, and just leave it and let the extra cash flow stack up. It's nice to see, a few $1,000 over, like a year can go by pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you want the house just to simply pay for itself and to weather any storms,
Yeah.
pay down the debt. And then over time, if you can pay off the mortgage in 15 years, all of a sudden you got a paid off house, and that's where you can cash in and start actually collecting the rental income or sell or trade up.
Sure.
You don't have to keep these houses long term, but don't say that they're a bad investment because there's more benefits that we're going to get into.
Right.
Huge one is tax benefits.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The tax benefits are humongous. If you are a property manager, or if you are a realtor, or if you're a general contractor, those are some easy ins to become a real estate professional. If you spend at least 750 hours a year, according to the IRS, I think it's 750.
Yes, you'd have to double check.
750. There might be some other requirements. I know I'm an agent, so I'm a real estate professional, but I'm able to write off my any real estate losses against my ordinary income as a real estate agent, which saves me monstrous tax bills. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't have rental properties, I can easily be spending $100,000 a year to the IRS.
Yeah.
That I don't have to just by owning a few.
That's awesome.
That hugely helps out. And if you want to hear more details on this, go check out our episode with Tom Robinson. What is that? It was in the 3rd season, I think.
Just type in
Second
Tom
season?
Robinson on the
Tom
Investor
Robinson.
Shed Pet podcast page. It'll pop right up.
Yeah. So yeah, tax benefits easily overlooked, but think about that. I mean, if you have a high paying job out there, why not? I mean, if you're making 2% on your equity, but then maybe you're making another 6% returns just on the tax benefits.
Yeah.
And then if you're adding up debt pay down, what's that? Is that an extra 1-2%? You keep stacking all these returns, and then all of a sudden you notice, this rental property. And then with appreciation, average appreciation,
Right.
the average, by the way, guys, in the U.S. over the last 100 years has been about 4%.
Yeah.
So you can count on average about 4% appreciation. You stack that because you're locked in with a mortgage. 4%, the 2%, maybe another 6% with the taxes. All of a sudden, you're in the double digits for returns. And this property, if you bought it creatively, maybe you didn't even put any cash. You did a burr or something like that. You only did a small amount of cash down, and then it's making you these infinite returns.
Yeah.
Like, how can you say that's a lousy investment? How can you do that with stocks?
No.
No. With stocks, you need 100% of the money.
Yeah, you need to buy. It's a 1-to-1 buying ratio.
Yeah. And then stocks either go up or down, and then you don't make money unless you sell.
Yep.
And then you have potential tax consequences when you do sell.
Yep.
And you have no control over how that stock does because you have no control over the asset.
Unless you're the owner of the company, which then you have the control, but you shouldn't be buying your own stocks. You should just have your own stocks. That's your company at that point.
Yeah.
Another thing I love too, so you're not taxed actually on the debt that you have on a property, which is really cool. So like we talk about
Yeah.
these tax savings and everything. When you leverage properties, say you get a $300,000 loan, you're not taxed on that $300,000 loan.
Oh yeah, like if you pull cash out.
No, like I mean, like that doesn't count as like it's not money that you have. So it's money. It's, you're not taxed on the debt. You're taxed on the gains, right?
Yeah, when you sell.
When you sell, right?
Yeah, and you never have to really sell these, or you can always do a 1031 and exchange into a bigger property.
Yeah.
But another cool feature with real estate is that when you do every few years, if you want to shave off a little bit of the equity and do a cash out refi,
Yeah.
the money that you get is tax free.
Tax free.
So let's say you bought a property, if let's say 8 years ago, and it was worth 200 when you bought it, and all of a sudden it's worth 350 grand.
Yeah.
And then you go to get a refinance loan, and they'll say, oh, we'll give you a loan for 70% of what it's worth. Take whatever your property is worth, multiply it by 0.7, and then subtract what you currently owe. And then let's say it's 100 grand. You can just go refinance, get 100 grand, put it in your bank account, do whatever you want with it, and you will not be taxed on it.
Yep.
It is not taxable income because it's debt, but it's debt that the tenants are paying for.
Yes.
Now, can you do that with stocks?
No.
Can you do that with your mastermind?
No.
Don't think so.
I don't think so.
Maybe
How
we're
about
wrong,
that? Yeah.
but we're pretty sure it's a no. You get the option to leverage other people's money with real estate very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always do this with stocks and all that stuff too, but most people are comfortable lending money on real estate because there's an actual hard asset there that can be controlled.
Yeah.
That you can write notes again, that you can collateralize easily with public recordings. So what I mean by that is you can go purchase a property and get together with your Aunt Jones or your Uncle Timmy.
Uncle Timmy and Aunt Jones.
Aunt Jones, Uncle. Be cool to have an Aunt Jones.
It would be cool. Sorry, we don't.
Whoever.
Yeah.
Whoever's got money but no time. Let's say you got the time and somebody else's money. These partnerships are so common.
Yeah. And we do that a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah. You can use your parents' retirement funds, assuming you know what you're doing. You can use other people's money to purchase real estate and make down payments, and be able to grow that way without
Sure.
this one for one again, like buying stocks or something like that. So I mean, it's an easy way to raise capital.
Yeah.
When you've got an underpriced asset. Now, ideally, when you're purchasing rental properties, you're buying at a discount.
Sure.
Let's not forget that.
Right.
You want to buy at a discount, not at market price, and you can do this over time with plenty of networking, plenty of listening to plenty of podcasts on how to buy discounted deals, know how to value a property, and get a discount. Like, we're not saying just go out and blindly buy whatever properties are out there and they're going to make you money. It's not true.
No, it's not.
You've got to buy something at a discount and that cash flows. And if you're not sure how something cash flows, get a mentor or you can go to our website and download a calculator for free.
Yeah.
NorthIdahoREI.com. Download one of those spreadsheets and just play with it.
People get caught up in cash flow too. Like I think in single family rentals, like people see the principal, interest, taxes, everything like that, and then they look at the mortgage and how much they rent it for, and they think, oh, that can cash flow, right?
Yep.
But there's so much more than that. There's capex and additional savings, and like just because a number works on paper with your basic PITI doesn't mean it's good rental.
What is PITI?
It's principal, interest, taxes, and what's the other one?
Insurance.
Insurance. Thank you. I knew I was missing
so
one.
good.
Yeah. I knew I was missing one. Pity is what they call it, and it's a pity that nobody actually takes a look at more than those numbers. But that is a good starting block. But you definitely need to be, adding in your property management fees, capex fees.
Yeah.
and doing everything because
maintenance and capex are different too.
Yeah, they are for sure. But definitely, like I don't want to be a landlord if I have any more single family rentals. So I'm factoring in every single time. Like I'm anticipating paying 9 to 10% with a property manager.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, Matt, that's gonna cut into your cash flow.
Sure will.
You think it will? I mean, think about it logically here. Like if you think about having a property for rent with a professional property management company that has plenty of people on a wait list, and they know how to market correctly, versus you. And you stick a sign in the yard that says for rent, and you're dealing with calls and stuff. Who do you think's going to get more money?
Property management company.
By how much? Can they get 8% more?
Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
If they can get 8% more than you can, and you don't have to talk to anyone, you've more than made up for your money, because all of a sudden you have this property management expense. That's a tax write-off.
Yep.
So something like if you hire a property manager, you're really only spending like 6%.
Yeah, and the numbers are all subjective, of course, but
that's assuming that you have in the 20% or so tax bracket. You know,
yeah, that's all subjective, like I said. So,
but like, yes, look at all your options. You don't have to be the one controlling everything.
Right.
Hire professionals that can make you more money.
And well, the thing I love about it too is like they have proper vetting techniques versus somebody who's just starting out like, oh, I'm going to be my own property manager. You know, I think they're going to be influenced by emotions a lot. Ooh, somebody's interested in my rental.
Oh my God, he can't make it this day because his grandmother's got a kidney issue.
Yeah.
He's not going to make rent. It's okay. I understand.
His dog ate his paycheck. Oh, okay. Well, I can wait.
I can wait. I can wait till Monday. It's okay.
Right.
It's got a good excuse. I mean, this is the problem. When tenants are dealing directly with the owner, they know they're dealing directly with the owner, and sometimes they just naturally think they just have more sway.
Yeah.
A little bit more power to negotiate. A little bit more, strings to pull.
Yep.
And not everybody's an evil bastard, but people become. Think about your parents. Like, have you ever kind of taken advantage of your parents, knowingly or unknowingly, just because that they can help you out better than a stranger would?
Yeah.
When you are dealing directly with a tenant, or if you're for sale by owner dealing directly with a buyer, I promise you guys, you're not going to make as much.
That's true.
You're not going to make as much as if you have a third party who's actually good at their job, that can bring the retail force that you need.
Systems and processes.
You want a retail price,
right,
for your rent and for your house.
I love it.
Okay, and you want to scale this. I mean, it's supposed to be a passive income. It's supposed to be passive income.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a passive investment. It's supposed to be for long term. Find a property manager that can do all this work for you, and you can just watch the money come into your account every month.
Yep.
It's fun. It's better that way.
It is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail. I was just like, while we were on that subject, I wanted to make sure people are, when they look at analyzing a deal, they're looking at more than just the pity.
Yep. Okay. Principal pay down by tenants. Like we touched on this, but like this is so much more powerful than people give it credit for. When you own a rental and your tenants are essentially paying down your mortgage for you, this creates equity, which continues to grow over time every month. Every month you may only see a couple $100, but what you don't see is the money that's growing in the background when they're paying your debt down every month.
Yep.
It may not look like much at first, but you're on a schedule. The way to speed up that schedule is to take that extra cash flow and put it towards your mortgage. Not all of it, because you need some for your repairs and maintenance and CapEx.
Yeah.
But you should probably, I don't know, make a rule for yourself and stick to it. Like I like to do on my rental properties is just add an extra $100. Yep. Whatever that minimum payment is.
I do that on my primary as well.
I just add an extra 100 to the automatic withdrawals, and then I forget all about it. And I think my mortgage payment is actually $100 higher than it is. Yep. And it will get paid off like 9 years faster.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different resources you can look to, but like how to be most efficient in paying off your mortgage faster. This is not the place to hear that, but again, you can pay twice per month, because then your actual interest it's paying your interest, and then
Well, if you do the twice per month thing, not everybody realizes this. Hey, quick commercial break here. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. If you want to give back, let me help you buy a house, or I can help you sell a house. It's the only way I make money when I'm not investing in real estate. I don't make money on this podcast or the events I do, but I do make money only when I help people buy and sell houses. So if you're looking for your next investment and you're here in North Idaho, I want to help you personally. If you are not in North Idaho, I can still help you out. I have a vast network of referral partners all across the country, and I can find the right real estate investor savvy agent for you so you don't have to. It doesn't cost you a thing. Thank you for your support. Back to the show. There's 52 weeks in a year. So there's actually an extra couple of weeks hidden in there than if you just do the monthly thing.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, there's just a lot of different ways. If that's what your goal is, again, look at some calculators online and see the best way to pay off your mortgage in the fastest time possible.
Yep. All right. And again, we got to talk about this. It's an inflation hedge. You know, if you sell your rental properties just to sit on the cash, you're losing money. Like we have inflation every year. Whether you think we do or not, we have it every year. Prices go up on things every year.
Yep.
And if you're just sitting on cash, you are losing purchasing power. So essentially, you're in the red, you know, with your returns.
Right.
So, I mean, real estate tends to perform pretty well because not only is the house going to potentially appreciate over time in value, but you can raise your rents every year.
You can.
As if you do a little small rent raise every year and tell your tenants in advance, tell your property manager in advance, we're going to up this by $50, you know, every year, or whatever makes sense, whatever's appropriate.
Right.
You need to be raising rents every year to keep up with the things like, you know, insurance going up, taxes going up. Those kind of things do go up every year. Your mortgage payment, typically your principal and interest, that does stay the same.
Right.
If you're locked in, you know, to a fixed rate.
Yeah.
But you got to be raising those rents every year, and then over time, I mean, $1,000 rental in just 10 years can be a $2,000 rental.
Yeah. If you're doing $50 a month, it'd be $1,500. No. Something like that.
If you're doing $100 a month over 10 years, something like that. I mean, you can. Every rental is going to be slightly different. You got to figure out what's appropriate, but it is appropriate to raise your rents every year and to tell your tenants that it does go up by 5% or 8% or whatever, how much ever you can appropriately raise it.
Yeah.
But people, if you don't raise your rents for 10 years. And you have a tenant in there for 10 years, and then all of a sudden you raise it a little bit, they're probably just going to move out.
Yeah, 100%.
I've seen that, a recent property I bought that in Hayden, that the tenants were only paying like $700 to $800 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-car garage in a nice area for like 18 years. And then...
Wild.
Yeah, and I think she finally raised the rents by like $100 when it was under rent by a lot. Right. I mean, this property finally rented out. It's rented out for like $3,600 a month.
I was going to say three plus.
We expected to get about $2,500, $2,600, but we're renting it out to like a midterm type of thing with an insurance claim.
Okay.
So an insurance company is paying a premium.
Sure.
To have it for less than a year.
Cool.
But I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The average rents on a property like this were about $2,500. She raised her rents on the tenants, very nice people, by the way.
Yeah.
By $100, and then they decided to move out and live in their RV. You can't shock your tenants.
Right.
Sometimes they just move out, and you do want your tenants to stay long. Sure. Like that's
especially
the goal.
if
You
they're
don't
good
want
tenants,
turnovers.
Right? Yeah.
But you do also want to raise rents, and so you just think, okay, well, people are just going to move out. If you just set them up on a schedule, and they just naturally, they're just used to paying a little bit more every year, people will get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking for gradual changes, not steep inclines, basically.
Set it up on autopilot, guys. Just have renewal leases that are up every year.
Yeah, and your property manager, which is great about that too. Like all you have to do is let your property manager know, and they'll just implement
They'll do it. Yep.
Hey, I want to make sure we're competitive. You want to be competitive and not aggressive with your rents.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fine dance.
There's a fine dance for sure, but you don't want to be the highest rent because everybody still wants a deal.
You still have to sell your house.
You still have to.
Your renters are still clients.
Mm-hmm.
They are still customers.
Yeah.
They are still people that you need to sell them a place to live. Sometimes, investors, if they're newer investors that just got in over the last few years, like North Idaho specifically, it wasn't very hard to rent out a house.
No, it wasn't.
You just had to have one available.
Yeah.
And that's actually the way things mostly are, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you actually have to be the best price house and look the best. Right now, selling real estate, that's the case.
That is definitely the case.
That could easily be the case with a rental property. So make sure that you're doing a good job keeping it maintained over time and that, you're still selling something.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, don't be greedy.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about inflation hedges, control over your investment. Okay, so unlike stocks, other financial instruments, or if you're investing in people's funds, you're not going to have any control over that kind of stuff, but you absolutely have control over your rental properties.
Yep.
A lot of control. You can control the rents. You can refinance it when rates are better and maybe improve your financial situation just with a refi.
Yeah.
Always be on the lookout for that. You could also, fight with your tax person and maybe get your taxes lower to help with your cash flow. You can always be shopping insurances. Make sure you make sure you're properly insured. That's the thing that a lot of people have struggled with. Whenever their house burns down, I hear it, almost everybody's always underinsured. So make sure you're not underinsured and you have the appropriate replacement value. But you can always shop the rates.
Yeah.
You have a lot of control over that. And if your house just isn't getting the kind of rental income, but it has the potential to, maybe you got to put some work into it.
It's true.
Maybe you got to replace those countertops.
Yep.
Maybe you got to paint the house. Don't be a slumlord. Slumlords are broke.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Be a smart investor.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. And then diversification. Having rental properties, you can be very diverse. You can have multifamily, you can have single family, you can have small multifamily is anything 4 units or less.
Yep.
Apartment buildings that are commercial are anything 5 units or more. So just know that there's different loans that go along with those, different programs, different types of terms when you're getting financing. Now, when you are getting, if you're buying 5 units or above, just know that you're not going to easily get a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Right.
But you could on a 4 unit or less, because that's considered a residential property, 4 units or less. Commercial is 5+, and commercial loans are just set up differently.
Yeah. Different requirements to get the loan, different requirements to meet the debt servicing, and
they're typically easier, but they cost more.
Yeah.
So
I mean that's kind of the play here, right? Like, I mean, the influencers saying these are lousy investments, but they're lousy compared to what?
Yeah,
right?
Compared to what?
Like what Nick said, like, if your cash is sitting in the bank, you're at a negative investment with inflation and just with the way the world works. Like, don't sit on your cash, but you should sit on some cash. Don't just take that to heart. You know what I mean? Like, have your emergency savings, but make sure every other dollar has a job in your bank account for sure. And then other than that, like I said, just it's lousy compared to what? So there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. Like there's private notes, hard money. You can do single family, conventional, commercial. There's just so many different ways to make money in real estate. And I think what really this dials down to is finding what works for you, because everybody's going to be in a different situation.
Totally. So let's give some examples, Jeremy.
Yeah.
The first rental property that I bought was in 2008. I moved into it. My mortgage was $800 ish. I was very young. I was 20 years old, and fixed up the house. I didn't do any research into what it could cash flow for. I just knew at that time, based off what my parents did, always moving up,
Yeah.
that if you buy a house and then you sell a house, you make money. That was the that was the beliefs I
That's
had.
the basic concept, right?
Yeah. So I bought this house in Kellogg for $86,000 and moved into it. Spent about a year and a half fixing it up. I worked at a car dealership while I worked on my selling skills, learned how to talk to people.
Yeah, that's important.
While I was working on this house, put a bunch of money into it, replaced the roof, built out the, repainted the interior, did some ceiling work, built a bathroom, did all these things that were kind of shitty work, actually. But, I did really crappy work, but I was new, didn't know what I was doing, had no construction experience. All I wanted to do was just move into that house and get it ready to be a rental, move out of it. While I was living there, the market tanked.
Yep.
And some of the mines shut down in that area, and the rental market just fell off a cliff. I moved out of it, and it sat vacant for 11 months. When I finally got it rented for $500 a month. And then
Ouch.
my property manager took 10% off the top, so she sent me a check for $450. So that I can make my $800 payment.
And then your mortgage was $800. Yeah.
Plus utilities.
Ouch.
So that was another $150 a month or so. Don't forget about utilities, guys.
Right.
So I was actually, I was cash flow negative, almost $500 a month. And I was also living in a motel in Florida, having seizures with no income. So it was hard for me to make that work.
Sure.
So you got to be careful what you buy.
Yeah.
Make sure that it can work. Just because it's a cheap house doesn't mean it's going to cash flow.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there because obviously this was 2008? Yeah.
2008 through 2010.
Right. If you would have held that property, if you would have had the means to hold on to that.
Yeah.
Say 2000, when did you sell it?
So I sold it. I did a deed in lieu in 2011. Gave it back to the bank. They gave me $2,000.
Okay.
Had it broom swept. Had it cleaned up for them.
Yeah.
Couldn't make the payments anymore. The following year, I saw that it sold for $26,000.
Yeah.
So I was just like, Jesus.
Man, I would have bought
today
it for 26, but
today that house is worth somewhere in the 200s.
Yeah, 200 easily, right? What do you think it would rent for?
Yeah. That house would rent for
Probably 12, 1300 maybe?
Yeah, at least 1,400 a month.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
so.
Kellogg, it's where he bought it's kind of a, I don't want to call it a stagnant economy, but it really is.
Yeah. And the economy in Kellogg hasn't improved a whole lot.
Yeah.
More people have moved out there as things got more affordable, but what did change a lot was that technology had made things easier for people to work from home.
Yeah.
So the location isn't as big of a deal as it used to be when it came to getting jobs and stuff.
It's true.
So there's plenty of, there's a demand for rentals now again in that area. If I was able to figure out how to hold that house, I would probably owe, this is 15 years in, I would probably owe around, I don't know, $50,000 maybe on the house.
Yeah.
And it would probably be worth like $250,000. I'd probably have $200,000 in equity on that property, and it would be cash flowing.
Right. But the point is you couldn't at the time and you sold it, and that's okay. Nobody's judging that. But just because, a deal may not be working for you does not mean you need to exit the race right away.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's a bad long-term investment.
Right.
Because it actually would have been a fine long-term investment. I just should have found a house that cash flowed.
Right.
And you can find it. Go find if I found a duplex, or if I just paid a little bit less, or if I refinanced that mortgage, at some point when rates drop like crazy, if I just figured out a way to just make that extra, a few $100s that I was losing every month, I'd be in a way different position today.
Right. And then, that was
maybe not, but yeah, that also, giving that back, I kind of took a break for like 6 years before I bought something else.
Yeah, you had a really sour taste in your mouth, I'm imagining.
Well, I had to be extra cautious.
Yeah.
I had to go in there like, dude, I got to make sure that not only does the price work, does it rent? Like,
right. And again, 2008 was a very weird time in real estate. Obviously, I wasn't even investing. I was 3 years fresh out of high school, so were you. But imagine this scenario, right? So you have this house. Imagine you bought when you were 20, 22. Imagine you bought 3 houses,
yeah,
right? And imagine the other 2 cash flowed,
yeah,
and it
They
took care of the
could've made
cash flow of the other one.
yeah, that's true.
That's still
Yeah,
a good
should've.
investment. So remember that too. Like, just because a project is bad, again, if you have other means of paying for this thing where it's still making sense, like,
Multiple streams.
yeah, keep it long term, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
again,
think it back. I mean, there's always so much. If I can go back in time, I would have just bought Bitcoin. But
yeah,
I can't.
Yeah.
So all I could do is learn from those mistakes.
Exactly.
Now, did I make a mistake buying that house? I don't know if I did.
yeah,
I think it helped set me up. I don't really have any regrets because like I didn't lose any skin over it. I didn't lose a limb.
right.
I just took a gut punch. I still got to live in that house and create good memories.
Yeah,
I still had a good time.
yeah,
I don't have any huge serious regrets. I just learned, very easily that, you got to do math.
yeah.
Do the math. I didn't do the math. I was too lazy. I didn't know. I didn't know enough. I just assumed, you buy real estate, you make money.
Yeah. Easy
There was
enough.
more to it than that.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? So yeah, I think that's all we got for
Okay.
today. I got other examples.
Yeah, let's keep talking. I mean, like, I'm listening because I think these examples are really good because somebody going through something where they're hitting negative cash flow, just realize like you have options.
Totally. So I've got good examples, bad examples. Here's a good one. I bought a property in 2018 that was a single family home in Coeur d'Alene that this guy was almost getting foreclosed on by the tax assessor for unpaid taxes for a few years. And this house was wrecked. So wrecked. He walked me through it.
How did you find this property?
Another wholesaler in the area didn't want anything to do with it, so he just gave that guy my number. He's
Cool.
like, this guy's kind of creative. He'll figure it out.
Nice. I love that.
But this property had homeless people like living in it.
Okay. Well, they weren't homeless. They had your place.
Well, I guess they had that place. I mean, but they didn't have the power or water on,
oh, wow. Okay.
or utilities on this house for like years.
wow.
So it was bad.
Okay.
Like it was basically a homeless camp that had a roof. But it was in a centrally located in Coeur d'Alene, like kind of near the hospital, near the freeway, but didn't have freeway noise.
Sure. Is this your homestead house?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Walked through it. And I noticed a few things as he took me through it. He took me, it was a larger house with a basement and a shop. He showed me the shop first. We walked through the shop, and the shop had this like kind of rundown little like shed inside it, like kind of built out, and it had a bathroom.
Okay.
So there was a bathroom in this little like small area, like the size of a bedroom, with a little bathroom built into the shop.
Sure. Okay.
And I thought to myself, I bet you this could be rented separately.
Yeah.
And someone could just kind of live there and like work out of the shop. I bet you this thing would rent for a few $100s a month.
Yeah.
And then he took me through the house, and we're just stepping over garbage.
Right.
You'd have to see it. It was a mountain of garbage everywhere throughout this house. So he took me through the main house, and it was actually, if you can look past all the garbage, it didn't look too bad. Like there's at least a couple of bedrooms here on the main floor, and the basement, you can get to it through the living room, but it also had an exterior entrance.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, what if we closed off that staircase and rented the basement? Because down in the basement had a kitchenette
Yep.
and a couple of bedrooms. I'm like, I bet you somebody would probably spend $700 a
Yeah.
month to live in that basement with a kitchen, There was even a washer dryer down there.
Bathroom
Like,
down there as well then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, they can just park on the street and walk right down, off the side of the house. I'm like, holy crap, $500 here, $700, from the basement. And then we walk through the house some more, and he goes to the master bedroom. The master bedroom was an addition at one point.
Okay.
And it had its own little kitchenette and its own bathroom. And I was like, what if I walled this off too?
Yeah.
This could be a little studio. And you can get there easily off the back of the house. And there's, there are multiple sheds on the property. I'm like, dude, I think I could make this like a fourplex
Yeah.
and just have, everybody will have storage sheds and separate accesses, separate entries. I think I can make this work.
Nice.
Bought it for 110 grand.
Okay.
I spent a year working on it. I had a budget of $40,000. I think I spent closer to $150,000.
Everybody goes over.
Yeah, I went $110,000 over budget, but I did it right.
Yeah.
This made this property really nice. Everything got a brand new kitchen. Everything got brand new bathrooms, rebuilt walls, made it so, it was all one utility bill, but there was a separate room that we made where the electrical panel was. That way anybody can access the electrical panel if they had issues.
Cool.
And made all the parking spots just right. And that property rented quickly for more than I thought.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a total of like close to $3,800 a month
Nice.
off something that, I ended up when I did the refinance, I spent 150 grand over budget.
Right.
I'm sorry. I went 110,000 over budget. So that was a hard year. I was constantly putting my real estate commissions into this house.
Yeah.
And blood, sweat, and tears. I worked on there a lot. I had contractor crews all over the place.
Yeah.
But when it was finally done, it appraised for like 475.
Nice.
And so I did a cash out refi. I got the whole thing financed. I got my money back. Plus I got an additional like 40 grand
Nice.
that I was able to pay off something else.
Yep.
So I did the burr, and it cash flowed. Like I remember my payment hasn't changed. It actually went down, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So my payment on it right now is around $1,900.
Okay.
And every month, pretty much without fail. And this is 7 years now. I think we're in the making. 6 years.
6 years.
6 years. Every month I get somewhere between 4,000 on the low end, to up to 6,000 sometimes
Nice.
per month. Most of the time it's around 5,500. Once in a while they have vacancies, but I've never had to, mess with tenants.
Yep.
I've had my property manager do everything, and that property has paid me almost $2,000 a month every month for 6 years.
That's awesome.
And I got all my cash back when I refinanced it.
Not bad.
Yeah. So, that's the power of a fourplex.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But
That's the power of being creative.
Yeah, it's being creative.
Yeah.
Is that a lousy investment? I don't know.
Right. I would say no, but that's something that
$2,000
definitely
a month for 6 years.
you had to be creative. You had to make it work for sure, because a normal person would walk through that and think like, okay, like the garage, maybe,
Yeah.
but typically I'll rent out this whole 3 building or whatever, and for a big family, and maybe I'll make $2,100.
Yep.
Yep.
And what happened was, over time, my mortgage stayed the same, and over time, rents even creeped up more.
Yep.
So almost every year, my cash, I keep making more money on this thing.
Yeah.
It started off, around $3,800 a month coming in, and now, I say 4,000 on the low end, but I don't think it's always been over 5, at least
Sure.
for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
of cash coming into my account
It's the Frankenstein
to make
fourplex.
to make my $1,900 payment.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I do have to go back to that house, and I've got to repair some siding.
Sure.
There's probably about, I don't know, $500 of work I got to go do to it. But yeah, do you know what that thing's worth today?
I have no idea.
Fourplexes are going for around $1 million.
Yeah.
this isn't a proper fourplex, so maybe it's 700.
I was thinking 750 really would be my guess.
Here's the thing, though. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not selling it.
No.
I'm not going to sell something that brings in reliable cash, a lot of reliable cash, way above my mortgage every month. I mean, it is a nice safety net. Like, it is a comfortable pillow to go to sleep every night knowing at least I got Homestead.
Right. And that was the one thing I remember, like, when you were going through your big legal battle and all your, over-leveraged Nick Beveridge era. It was like over my dead body am I selling Homestead. Like that one that's a draft pick that's not on the table.
Yeah. Now, I've had multiple homes, plenty of houses that will only generate about $500 or so in cash flow.
And that's still pretty good.
It's still not bad.
Yeah.
Some it's negative, but with my situation, I put myself in that situation knowing, well, I want the tax benefits. I actually make more on that end. And then over time it is going to go up. And it has. Yeah. I bought a couple of properties that were kind of negative annually, but then they became positive over time.
Yeah.
So you gotta be 100% aware of your total financial situation to make the best decisions for yourself.
Yep.
But I wouldn't consider them all to be lousy.
No, not at all. Yeah. And I remember talking to Dan Corwin. He's one of our clients and good friends. He lost some money on the flip, and I'm like, how do you feel about that? Does that like upset you? He's like, dude, I've got so many other properties and like so many other tax negations, and like this loss actually just like helps me in the long run.
It was just an education for him.
Yeah, it was just an education. And he's like, I lost money on the front end, but like I'm just using that against my personal income, right?
Yeah, his liability. So he's not really losing money.
Yeah, like he's like, it was just a really cool learning experience.
It was allocated. His loss was allocated somewhere else.
Yeah, and then he's done other flips and he's made money. And he's like, cool, that's the game, man. That's the gambit. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But you take what you've learned from both scenarios, winning and losing, and you apply it when you move forward.
Yep. Anyway, hope you guys learned something.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around. If you guys want more of this, just keep listening because we're going to pump them out every week.
Oh yeah, we're going to be pumping, baby. Thank you so much for thank you so much for listening. Again, if you're new to the show, if you just happen to catch it on Facebook or Nick's, X account with 3 followers, thank you so much.
I don't even think I have 3 yet.
But nonetheless, thank you so much. But here's the thing. So find us on YouTube, The Investor Shed Podcast. Find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under the same name, The Investor Shed Podcast. We've got mountains and mountains of content. So if you ever want investing advice, if you want to hear from some of the local experts, or you just like Nick and I, please give us a listen. We'd love to. We'd love to have you as a listener. And if you have any advice or any ideas for future shows, love to hear those too.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Have a great day. Don't. Thank you so much for checking out the Investor Shed podcast. If you enjoyed your time, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow along on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at The Investor Shed for shorts and promos about each episode. Do you want to be a guest or know someone who has great real estate investing advice and stories? Reach out to us at theinvestorshed@gmail.com.